Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofvacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofvacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome Gian and Angie, two cruisers living out two amazing stories on a cruise ship. That's right, two amazing stories. The first is simply living on a cruise ship, Vie Odyssey, for the next 3 years, circumnavigating the globe, and in the process visiting 147 countries across all 7 continents, 425 port stops in all. Anyone who is a regular listener of the Joy of Cruising podcast knows I wouldn't hesitate to host Gian and Angie on the show at some point during their dream voyage. But there's a second amazing story Gian and Angie are part of, and it became world news, and it is how they came to my attention. For background, Vie Odyssey was originally due to sail from Belfast, Ireland in May 2024. Two passengers who did not know each other, Angela Hassani from Colorado and Gian Peroni from Canada, were awaiting sail-away day when shortly before, an urgent need for some major repairs were uncovered. Repairs that would take several months. Some of the passengers of Vie Odyssey chose discounted vacations around Europe. Others remained in Belfast and worked remotely, including both Gian and Angie, who still had not met. Sometime during the ensuing months, Gian and Angie found each other. Then they found love. Vie Odyssey finally sailed in September of 2024. When the ship stopped at Costa Rica, a couple of dozen friends and family members joined the several hundred passengers aboard the Vie Odyssey for Gian and Angie's wedding. Gian Peroni is from Vancouver, Canada, and prior to embarking on the Odyssey, spent the previous 6 years living in Costa Rica. He is still working full-time in the online marketing space and has a dedicated office with a great view on board the ship. Gian has 2 adult children from a previous marriage, both of whom were in the wedding party. Angela Hassani, now Peroni, is from Colorado and was a successful salon owner for more than 3 decades. She's an avid outdoors person that loves to spend winters snow biking and summers exploring nature, including living for a time in both Yellowstone and Alaska. Neither Gian or Angie were cruisers in the past, and neither joined the Odyssey expecting to find love, but rather simply looking for an exciting change in their lives. As it turned out, the delayed launch of the ship gave them the time to explore Belfast together and become great friends before they became a couple. Their back-to-back weddings on board couldn't have been more perfect. Welcome, Gian and Angie, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having us on your show.
Hey, Paul. Good to be on the show. We're living our best lives over here.
Well, I know you're living your best life. This whole story is living your best life. But let me just introduce you to my listeners. It's great to meet you virtually. First thing I want to say on behalf of all the listeners, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So how are you both doing?
Awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah, couldn't be better.
Every day is amazing.
New adventure.
Well, before we discuss your wonderful romantic story, just share some background info for the listeners, where you each are from, Where have you spent your adult life before your current situation? Professional background, anything you would like to share?
Well, as you mentioned in your intro, Paul, I am from Colorado. I've lived and spent most of my life there in the mountains, and I had a career as a salon owner for 33 years.
I'm a Canadian, living last 7 years in Costa Rica, but I've been working still full time as an online marketing professional. And I've been fortunate enough to travel fairly extensively through my life, both for pleasure and for work.
John, where are you from in Canada?
Vancouver. I was born and raised in the prairies in Alberta, but once I saw the ocean, I've never left since then.
So I tried to give an overview in
Mhm.
the intro, but give us the details of you meeting, falling in love, and then getting married, apparently twice.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's really a kind of a fun story, Paul, because um, neither of us got on this cruise expecting to find love, and in fact, I think we both were thinking that the last thing you wanted was a romantic entanglement getting on a small cruise ship because where are you going to hide? But we didn't know anything about each other. We both bought cabins on the ship on the Vie Odyssey, and we headed off to Belfast last May to get ready to sail. We met briefly at the end of May and became friends with a group of other travelers. And when the ship was first delayed, a bunch of them, including Angie, were sent off to the Canary Islands for a few weeks of relaxation. And I stayed in Belfast because I was working. And then after the Canaries, Angie ended up going back to Colorado for a month. And when she returned, which was kind of late July, at that point, we were at the point on the ship where we could come to the ship during the day and spend time in our cabins, spend time working in the office. But we still had to commute back into downtown Belfast every day, which is about an hour and a half walk. And we started walking together, and we realized that we had a lot of the same values and a lot of the same dreams. We became really, really good friends, and the relationship grew from there. And about 10 days after we first got together, we got matching tattoos and started talking about marriage and went ring shopping. And a few weeks later, I proposed during one of our evening walks along the River Lagan there. Belfast is a beautiful city. It's funny, I remember as while I was down on one knee, some joker walked by behind me and yelled, "Don't do it." Yeah.
Glad he didn't listen.
So this was sort of, so you had like a kind of a boardwalk, or I mean, it was just kind of a walking path
Yeah.
between. What were you staying at a hotel in Belfast?
Many of them, to
Okay.
be honest.
This, the delays that happened with the Villa V were with the Odyssey kept being delayed. We would find new things that needed to get done. As an older ship that had been kind of laid up for a few years, the Coast Guard was treating it as a new ship, which meant that there was a lot of upgrades that needed to be done. So we would go to a bed and breakfast. We would then go to an Airbnb. We'd go to a hotel. We'd go to a different hotel. So, you'd be 3 days in one place, a week in another, because we kept thinking we were going to go. And, so this walk was about, they had a shuttle, but we both turned out to like walking. And it was about an hour and a half. And it was a beautiful walk from the shipyards out where the Titanic was built into central Belfast. We went by it's coincidentally the Odyssey Arena, and it was just really nice. And again, the conversations we had, we just very, very quickly had the opportunity to fall in love.
Yeah, I was happy that he had picked that place along the river. It was really special for me because we had spent so many days walking past that area. So I was pretty tickled.
What was the mindset of the passengers at this time? Were they frustrated? Were they wary? Were they? I would think it's all over the place, but
All of the above,
Yeah, all the above. That's right.
I think for a lot of us, I know for both Angie and I, and probably a good 30% of the passengers, we were all, I sold my house, she sold her house. I gave away my surfboards and my bicycle and everything I owned, and it was all sitting in hockey bags in Belfast. So I was committed to wait it out. Angie was committed. There was a few people that bailed. There were people that went on different trips. I ended up going to Prague once and to Amsterdam for little week-long jaunts. But most people stuck it out, and I think there was probably, I'm going to estimate 70 or 80 of that were there from the time we arrived in May until the October 1st when we finally sailed. It was 4 months, but again, the people of Belfast were amazing. We even had the mayor do a send-off for us, and talk about how great we were for the city because we put so much money into their economy.
Now, when you say some people bailed, do you mean they literally like walked away from the Villa Vie Odyssey?
Yeah, there was a couple, but what surprises me is that I can count them on the fingers of one hand. And those were really more of the Villa Vie was set up as a residential cruise ship with most of us being owners or investors, and so we had cabins, but they were also and still sell segments like some of the other cruise ships. So those segments are usually 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and like South America would be a segment, for example. So the first segment never happened. And so people that had come over for just the first segment ended up, of course, not sailing anywhere. But for the people that were owners, everybody stayed that I'm aware of. And
Okay.
of course, the nice thing about ownership is we can come and go as we like. But as far as I know, we're all still here, and it's just gotten better over time. Patience paid off.
And we both like to say too that we were probably some of the only two super happy people there because we were launching on a new romance and falling in love and having a great time together. So we really could.
Probably never would have happened otherwise.
That's how we feel. So yeah, I could almost.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was going to ask you. I was thinking. I was saying people probably were antsy and frustrated, but you probably were on cloud nine.
There, you said it perfectly.
It really was. And of course, we were at the different pubs most nights and managed to see a little bit of Ireland as well. So it all worked out, and we really didn't have any place better to be.
No, and we were sure a positive inspiration for a lot of the frustrated people waiting. They liked seeing our love story grow, so it was very fun for us.
So how quickly did your story spread? First among your friends and fellow passengers, and then among the Belfast. I would assume it hit the Belfast media. I know it did because one of the articles I read, it was a Belfast story.
Yeah, and we really had almost global coverage. It's funny how these things go viral. We were doing interviews with people from all kinds of countries, Poland, Netherlands, of course, the US and Canada. Most of the coverage was in the UK, though, Ireland and England. So we were on TV with BBC and ITV, and we've done some follow-up since the wedding on television as well. But it was interesting because when we first met, we joked that. In fact, I said to Angie, should we keep this on the down low? And she's like, yeah. But then, we started walking back and forth and holding hands, and the people would go by in the shuttle bus and kind of point out the window and go, something's going on over there.
Yeah, and then the news story started, and our friends started contacting us from different places around the world. I read about you. I saw you.
As soon as the press got hold of it, because it was a fun story, and like I said, at the time it was really good news for the Odyssey because the delays, of course, were frustrating people, but now all of a sudden there was a real positive spin to it, and a fun spin.
So the day came when the Odyssey finally was going to take off, but you had started planning, of course, the wedding before this point, right?
Yes, and my mom was visiting at that time, so she got to share in all the excitement. Since we had decided to get married on the ship, I wanted something intimate for my wedding. So we ended up planning 2 ceremonies, one for our family and friends, and then one that we could have all the passengers and crew join us and celebrate with us. So it was, for a bride, it was a perfect wedding, if I may. Perfect two weddings.
Now, was it, I know sometimes captains perform weddings. Was that your case?
Yeah, so we ended up having the two ceremonies. The first one we did was in the a lounge at the front. It's called the Observatory. It looks out over the bow, and it was, like a nice little kind of, it's a bar lounge area. It was perfect. There was about 30 people. We had one of our residents officiated, and another one was our official photographer. Angie, with a bunch of her friends on the ship, did all the decorating. We had probably 30 or 40 people involved in decorating. So it was a real residential kind of fun thing. Um, and then after that one, of course, we went for dinner and cake. And I actually sliced Angie's finger while we were
Uh-oh.
Cutting the cake.
So, um, yeah, plunging the knife in. And then the next night, absolutely, we had this big wedding on the top deck by the pools. The captain officiated. He even took the plunge into the pool with us, which was
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
He's fantastic.
Yes.
Now, you don't happen to have that on video, do you?
Oh,
Of
yes.
course we do.
Yeah, you bet we do.
Yes, I'm sure he's maybe a bit embarrassed.
I'd love to share it with the cruise world.
Oh, we would be happy to send
We'll
it to
make
you.
sure we've got a copy of it. There's actually on the Villa V Residence's YouTube channel, you can see the wedding, and
Oh,
there's,
okay.
there's footage from both events, um, kind of mixed in a little bit, but the weather was perfect. We had sunsets both nights. We had bubble machines, and Angie bought out half of Amazon, so there was decorations and lights.
Mind you, Paul, they didn't have any decorations on board because we had just first launched the ship. And so it was a little bit of a challenge to get all the decorations out here. I ended up going back to Colorado and having a lot of my family and friends, mules, as Gian likes to call them, haul my stuff out for me with me. But the second event turned into a big party for everyone. And after we did a flash mob, we did a conga line down to the pool. We had private dancers in there,
Professional dancers, yeah.
We're professional dancers. We had bubble machines. I mean, it was an absolute blast. We had live music in the evening. So for the residents and us, it was a fabulous time for that second day.
And that, by the way, Paul, that was off the coast of Costa Rica and Nicaragua, the two ceremonies. So we were right in the tropics, and the weather was perfect.
And you had family and friends in Costa Rica.
Correct. We both had friends come down, fly into Costa Rica, and board the ship there just after we finished going through the Panama Canal, and so they all stayed with us, and then off, in some of them in El Salvador and some in Guatemala.
So of the small ceremony on the first day, all of those folks or most of those folks got off the ship?
Correct.
They were,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. We have what they call a friends and family program here, where we get $33 a night. You can bring on people, and they can stay in their own cabin, and you get X number of nights a year that you can bring these people on. And it's really
That's nice.
Because for most of us that live here, we have children or grandchildren or nephews, and so pretty much everybody has had visitors over the 10 months, well, 8 months, I guess, that we've been at sea now. And it's nice because, you don't want to get homesick. This kind of lengthy cruise, it's a long time to be away from home.
Well, I'll tell you, I want to keep talking about the falling in love and getting married, because that's just such a wonderful story. But I'm sure my listeners also want to hear about Villa Vie Odyssey. Before we even talk about getting on it, talk about each of your motivations for embarking on a 3.5-year adventure?
It is, yes, at least. Yeah, that's exactly. I'd recently closed my salon and reconnected with some family, and was deciding what to do next when I had heard about the company developing the cruise line, and I was immediately hooked. I'd never really been out of the country. I'd spent some time in Alaska, Yellowstone, and Florida, But I really realized at that point how much I love to explore new places. And so for me, this was an opportunity of a lifetime. So that's what motivated me. I'd never really been to the ocean very much, so I figured doing the exact opposite of everything I'd ever known sounded like the best adventure of all.
So you had never cruised.
One time I'd been to Alaska a few years prior, but I'd only done the one cruise.
Okay. Okay. So, because I would have asked you, were you worried about seasickness? But you had no problems in Alaska, so you were ready.
I was ready. Yeah, I mean this is a much different adventure out here, especially crossing some of the larger oceans. But no, I really didn't have any problems at all, and I had spent a lot of time on different boats, at least on lakes. I know that's significantly different, but
Sure.
I was very comfortable with it, and I knew that there was always ways to kind of combat that if I do have some issues.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
And Gian, what was your motivation?
I'd about 7 years ago, I kind of got tired of the cold and wet of Vancouver and uh, picked up, sold my house there and moved to Costa Rica and was living a really good life there. You know, it's living on the beach, surfing town, um, but every day was the same. And I kind of realized that 10 years from now, every day would be the same. And I heard an article on CNN about Villa Vie, and also got hooked immediately. And, 145 countries, 425 ports. I mean, I had such FOMO that I was going to miss out on this that I immediately put my house on the market and then waited patiently while it sold. For me as a traveler, not a cruiser yet at that point, I'd never been on a cruise ship. Um, this again seemed like a great adventure, but I've worked on ships, as a commercial fisherman and diver, so I wasn't worried about the water.
Oh, so
But
you've been you've been a seafarer, so to speak.
a little bit, but coming from the prairies, like I said, as soon as I saw the ocean for the first time in Vancouver, I've never left the ocean since.
Talk about the hardware, just the ship itself. How many passengers? What's the capacity?
So the Odyssey is a kind of a smaller ship. It's a bit more flat bottom, which has been great. We got up, 50 miles inland to Seville. We're able to get up the Amazon and a lot of other, up the St. Lawrence in Canada, um, which makes it a little bit more tippy, shall I say, but nothing that has proven to be a problem. There's about 400 residential cabins. Um, Most are sold. They won't sell all of them because of this friends and family program I mentioned. But otherwise, she's an elegant old lady. She used to be the Braemar with Fred Olsen Cruise Line. Um, she's 30 odd years old, but she's got that kind of elegant old style to it. Lots of open space, beautiful lounges, lots of wood. Um, we have a couple of theaters, 3 restaurants, 4 bars. There's a spa, pools, gym. We have a library and a business center where I have a full-time office with an incredible view. I'm looking out the window right now. Um, so it's got all the amenities you would want. I mean, we don't have, water slides and go-kart tracks, but it feels like home.
How does the food arrangements work? Is it a la carte? Is there a plan?
So the first thing that's really important to know is that it's all inclusive for a monthly maintenance fee, which is tied into basically the size of your cabin. And so we can go into the sit down restaurant, which is a la carte, or we can go to the buffet, which is usually our preference because of the time and selection. We like to eat and get back on with whatever we're doing. The food's amazing. As we get into different countries, the chef tends to focus on local dishes. So if we're in South America, we'll, be having South American dishes, country specific. Never a shortage, 3 meals a day. We have beer and wine included with our meals. And there's more than enough to eat. That's you never suffer. My stomach is the only thing suffering as it gets bigger and bigger.
Exactly. We have a fantastic pastry chef on board. So the desserts are just decadent. and a wide variety, from your vegetarians to your meat eaters to your soups. And I can't even tell you how good a lot of the dishes are. A lot of rice and um,
Yeah, anything you want.
Thai, Chinese. Yeah, it's really good.
And then for some variety, you can try some of the food options at the port. So talk about,
Right.
well, give us some highlights of some of your ports that you have. You said you've been on what, 8 months?
Yeah, yeah. We left October 1st, so we've just passed 8 months. And one of the other things I wanted to mention about the food is uh, because we're a residential cruise line, we can bring on our own alcohol. So pretty much everybody has a bar set up in their room, which keeps the cost down. There's drink plans like there is on any cruise ship, but those are optional. We always, reload when we get to ports. And, if we're in the bar, then of course we buy from the bar. But if we're in our rooms, then we'll make our own cocktails. So yeah,
It's pretty
Angie,
flexible.
yeah, sorry, you go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you on
Oh
where you've
no.
been and what you'd like.
Oh gosh, for some of my highlights, there's definitely too many to even mention at this point, but some of them that pop out in my head are like hiking Machu Picchu,
Ah,
the Carnival at Rio. We got to spend 5 days. It was very memorable to be riding camels in Morocco. The Panama Canal was on my bucket list. It's all been amazing. So I could go on quite a while on the different places, but those are some of my top ones.
as the listeners are hear you say that, Angie, just about every place you named is on most bucket lists. I mean, I've interviewed what, 200 or more guests, and I ask everyone what's on your bucket list, and those are all common responses. And we're talking about maybe one of those for in a
Yeah,
lifetime. And
Right.
you've knocked that out in a few months, so you're just getting started.
Isn't
yeah.
that the
We're
truth?
we're 35 countries into 145. Iguazu Falls down at the border of Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay was absolutely stunning. As Angie mentioned, we did a 2-day Inca trail hike in Peru to get to Machu Picchu. And when you come through the Sun Gate and you look down at Machu Picchu, I mean, it's just so emotional.
Yeah, it changes you.
We've done the Panama Canal twice now because briefly we started, as I said, in Belfast and of course headed down through Portugal and Spain and got down to Morocco and then we bounced back up to Gibraltar, which is fantastic to visit if anybody hasn't been there. Put it on your list. Um, then we went, of course, through the Canaries. We went down to Senegal, um, then through Cabo Verde Islands and over to Barbados. We visited most of the Caribbean islands for the Panama Canal the first time, and then we did a full circumnavigation of South America, including spending a fair bit of time down in Argentina, right down in Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in the world.
Big
Beautiful
one.
down there. And then we came back up the East Coast. So we did the rest of Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. We were there for a month, including, as Angie mentioned, 5 days at Carnival, which was amazing. But Rio's got to be seen to be experienced. I mean, to be appreciated. Um, and now we got back up. We did Cartagena, went through the canal again, and now we just left Hawaii. And in 4 days we'll be in San Diego, and then head north.
My next cruise is Panama Canal. I've been cruising 40
Oh,
years, and I'm
great.
finally getting to the Panama Canal. You've never cruised, and you've been twice.
I know it's not fair. I'm sorry.
Seriously, Paul,
Yeah.
is that right?
Something's not right about that.
It is. You'll love it. I mean, it's just the engineering feat alone is worth the trip. And of course it's beautiful, but it's a fascinating experience.
And I'll tell you, Paul, you're dead on. I have to get pinched all the time just to be reminded that this is not a dream for real.
You're living it.
It's
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
completely. Yeah,
All I
it's
can do is just
fabulous.
keep shaking my head. Wow.
Right. We do every day. Don't worry.
So now there's no, I mean, obviously I understand this is not, commercial cruise, like the kind of cruising that I do. So there's not like any organized entertainment program or anything like that, or is there?
Oh, yes.
100%.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we have
Right
live
now we have
entertainment.
professional dancers. We have two different sets of entertainers. One's a duo and one's a pianist. We've had comedians. We had somebody from the Benny Hill show come on. We've had there's always at least three or four entertainers on, and then of course there's the usual trivia games, and we have this library that's been converted pretty much into a games room. So every board game you can imagine in there. There's people playing bridge every day, etc. So
But the
there
itinerary
is,
is very full during the
yeah,
day.
the itinerary is
What they
full
offer,
with
yeah, between port talks and entertainment and live music and
people are teaching
dancing.
craft.
Yeah, you can learn to
And
dance from the instructors. So it's actually quite very similar to, I think, a standard cruise ship on that note.
Do you have, you may not even know what this means having not been on a traditional cruise. On traditional cruise, we have something called a cruise director who kind of
Mhm.
like leads the
Yep,
entertainment programs and all of that. Do you have
yep.
that?
Yeah, but they call themselves the entertainment manager, or entertainment director. Yes, we had an amazing lady at the beginning that has been doing this her whole life, and she was replaced by an equally amazing lady. And they were both very helpful and instrumental in getting our wedding put together. But no, they come on every morning on the PA like a real ship and tell us what's going on for the day. And because we're both working, we don't participate in a lot of things during the day, but there's no chance to get bored. If you do what you want to do, and it's also a little bit different than most cruises because you come into a port, you feel this sense of urgency to get off because you got to get back on at 5 or 6 o'clock to go to the next port. Whereas we spend an average of 2 to 4 days in every port. So
Oh
it's
man.
much more relaxing and
Mhm.
we can spend the night in town. We've often spent the night in hotels or we were at a reggae thing the other night till 3 in the morning,
Mhm.
in Hilo in Hawaii. So if we miss an entertainment thing, then we'll do it the next night. If you're into karaoke, you can do karaoke. So there's always something going on. We don't lack for anything other cruise ships have. It's just smaller scale.
It is. And I think for me also with that, Paul, is it gives you get to dive much more into the culture and lifestyle when you get those amount of days in each of the
Yeah.
ports. It's
Yeah, those extensive
wonderful. Yeah, we take lots of walks just in any direction we pick, and we just love exploring the neighborhoods and the different architectural designs and exploring the history and meeting the people. I find it to be an amazing experience on that note because you're not just focused on tourist attractions.
Yeah, that's another key difference, between a regular cruiser like myself and what you all are doing. I mean, I have never stayed overnight at a port, in close to 40 cruises, never had an overnight stay. So there's so much about this that I envy. The only thing is, I'm the cruise lover. My wife likes travel, but she's not as much of a cruise as I am.
Okay.
I mean, she gets antsy after too many sea days. I mean, we went, on our
Yeah.
first transatlantic cruise, and so our first 8 days were sea days. And after, say, day six, she was like, "I need land. I need land. I need land." So how long do you guys typically go on sea? Before you have a port stop.
We did a 7 day Atlantic when we went from Cabo Verde to Barbados. We did 7 days, almost eight from La Paz, Mexico to Hawaii, and we're on day 2 of 6 coming back to San Diego. We have,
But
I think,
average,
an 8 day from Alaska to Japan, but most of the time, it's usually no more than 1 or 2 sea days because we're hitting 425 ports. We're hitting a lot of ports that most cruise ships don't go to. And we can get to a lot of ports that other cruise ships can't because we're smaller. So there's no need for us to go all the way, say, from Acapulco to Mazatlan, we can stop a couple of times in the middle.
And I was going to say, I think that's a big difference when you talk about your wife, because for me, I think I can respect where she comes from, but because every day or every other day, we tend to put our feet on land for a couple days to 4 days, that changes that experience of feeling like you're on the ship all the time. So I think when you're a typical or regular cruiser, you don't have that opportunity, like we just mentioned, where with us, we can spend overnight, we can spend 2 or 3 full days in port and then get back on the ship. So it, to me, makes all the difference to have that opportunity.
Normally, at this point, I would ask a guest, what do they have booked? So I know what you have booked. What are you real? I don't want to say what are you most looking forward to. I mean that's this you just have an abundance of riches in front of you, but name three parts of the world that you're each most interested in seeing. That's it. That's in your itinerary.
Well, for me, my father was born and raised in Egypt. I've always wanted to go. It's a country I've been all around there, but I haven't been there yet. We will get there in about 2 years. We have a long way to go. So I'm really looking forward to that.
It's amazing hearing someone say that.
Exactly.
We'll get there in 2 years.
Yeah, you know it.
So I guess that's pretty much like me asking somebody, what do they have booked? Yeah, 2 years from now I have a cruise booked to Egypt.
We're just kind of busy in the meantime. Yeah.
Yep.
Namibia. I've been to South Africa before. I'm dying to see Namibia. It just sounds like the ultimate beautiful country. And we'll circumnavigate Africa. So there'll be a lot of countries that we haven't been to there that I think will be great. And for me, I think the other place, we're doing 103 days in the South Pacific. So we'll get to see all the little islands that, you normally don't get to see. But I had an opportunity a few years ago to spend a few days in Vietnam, and I really want to go back into that area and see Cambodia and Thailand and just spend a little bit of time in that area.
Absolutely. And I'm looking, Fiji has always kind of been a dream of mine. Antarctica, I'm looking really forward to exploring and spending some time. And like Gian said, I haven't had a whole lot of experience exploring and studying different ports. I mean, I'm actually the kind of person that when we wake up, I tend to ask them where we're at and how long we're going to be here, and because it's all so new to me, and I don't tend to like to read a lot about places on the note. I like to have my own experiences there. So, but definitely, I can't wait to do like the Netherlands and different places like that. So, but he has a little bit more solid idea of where he'd like to go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Gian. You spend most of the day working,
Correct.
right? Are you a CEO? You have your own company, or you just work remotely?
Yeah, I run an online marketing company, but I do work for my clients, and they tend to be Eastern U.S. time zone. So it's kind of challenging. Hawaii, I started work at 4 a.m. When I get over to Asia, of course, it'll be working all night. And but it's the nice thing is you're not flying and landing somewhere with 8 time zones under your belt. The time moves slowly, so my body adjusts as we go. And because I run my company my own way, I do have some flexibility. If I want to take a half day off to go see something, I can do that.
So Angie, how do you spend your time?
Well, contrary to Gian, I don't have to get up early, so I kind of get up when I do, and I work part-time as a travel agent. I figured that would be a very nice complement to what our adventure is out here. So I really enjoy exploring all that, and I do create a curated list for the ship's residents on the different ports and the different activities that they can do there. I really enjoy that. And my mom currently is on board. She's been on board for just about 6 weeks. So I spend a lot of time with her, and we play games and
Shop.
Yeah, he likes to remind me of that. The ports are so fun to shop in. But on board, I just kind of get to work my own hours and do my own thing. I'm a little bit more fortunate like that. So I have a pretty great life. I get some pool time and get to go to the gyms in the morning, and he has to do his a little bit more structured, but it's a pretty posh life, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, forgive me for thinking that you don't have to work during the day. I didn't know you were a travel agent. Are you new to that, or was were you doing that back in Colorado?
No, I wasn't. After I closed down my salon, I took a couple years just to kind of decide and get kind of my bearings on what I'd like to do. And once this opportunity arose, I felt like it was just a very nice compliment to the lifestyle and what I might be able to offer people about my different experiences and different places to go. So it's relatively new to me. I'm maybe a year into it at this point. So I'm very much enjoying it. I actually really love it.
Well, best wishes to you.
Thank you.
We are relatively new. My wife and I and my daughter are relatively new travel agents. Also, in fact,
Oh, yes.
you've been at it longer than us. We're not at a year,
Okay.
not at a year yet. So, but
Okay.
good luck
Lots
to
to
you.
learn.
That's yeah.
You
Oh,
too. I know
tell me
lots to
about it. A
learn.
lot
Yeah,
to learn.
exactly. More than you expect. I know for sure. But it's pretty exciting. Lots of different avenues to take it, which is exciting.
Well, I'm going to, again, when I ask what do you have booked, I usually follow it up with what's on your bucket list. Well, you're gonna check them all off. So I'm not even going to ask
Uh,
you what's on your bucket list. In fact, you
Exactly.
kind of answered that by saying of the many places you have to go to, what's kind of at the top of your list. But I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
whole lot more
Wow.
bucket list destinations.
We will see all the wonders of the world on this trip. We'll
Wow.
Yeah.
get to all of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am so happy that you were able to take the time out of your schedule to join us. Before we let you go, we usually ask our guests some light and dare I say even fun cruise questions.
Okay.
I always ask guests how they spend their me time. I assume that applies to you as well. You both pretty much have professional work to do. So how do you pass the time when not working at your professions?
For me, I think I mentioned we have a kind of a regular fun poker game, so I try and do that a couple of nights a week. As a new husband, I realize I can't do that every night, so I try and keep that balanced. So we'll join other residents.
You're a fast learner, Gian.
Yeah,
Thank
she
goodness.
has a big stick. Um, yeah, so we'll like join other residents and play games sometimes. Some nights we'll just kind of chill in front of Netflix or go to whatever the local entertainment is. Um, if we're off the ship, for me, it's all about hiking and exploring. And I did have this awesome plan to learn to play the keyboard. So I bought a keyboard. It's sitting behind me in the office, covered in dust. Um, but
You'll get to it.
eventually, that's what I keep saying. Uh, so that. Oh, and there is one other thing that I keep threatening to buy that huge, I don't know, $700 model of the Lego Titanic and build that just for fun. But I'm not sure if I'm kind of putting a curse on us if I build
You
that.
do. Exactly.
Yeah, maybe get a huge Lego something else.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a little pushback from
X-Wing
me.
fighter. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, that's great. And for me, Paul, for me, I've had so much wedding planning, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to relax. But I'm really looking forward to getting involved in some more craft projects, and definitely going to be doing some dance lessons with this guy. And just, gosh, it's so easy just to enjoy your day on board. It goes so quickly every day, because it's just a pleasure to look around and meet the people. And again, I enjoy the crafts, and I'm going to start reading a little bit more and all kinds of fun stuff like that. It's a little bit of a different feel because you live here. So there's not that urgency to get stuff done.
Now you mentioned dancing. What, Gian? You talking about like ballroom dancing?
He laughed.
I'm laughing because we of course had to do a first dance for our wedding, and so we got the professional dancers to create a custom dance for us to a song that Angie has selected. and we practice and we practice and we practice. And I definitely have two left feet. But we had it nailed. We were ready to go. And then we got up on the deck, and in the excitement of the moment, we completely screwed it up. Um, but the good news is, of course, nobody knew what it was supposed to be. So we kind of faked it and
Pulled it off.
hugged and did a little kind of, I don't know what the hell we were doing. But we pulled it off okay. And we quickly, right after that, had the flash mob come in and take over. So we were able to hide our red faces in the corner after that. But yeah, I mean, it'd be fun to learn some salsa and some rumba and some of the, some of the more fun dancing.
Especially with the countries we have been in and going to and stuff. I think it'd just be a lot of fun to be able to participate in some of the night.
And this is a cruise crowd, so there's a lot of good dancers on board, of course.
Right.
So when you say a cruise crowd, I suspect most of your your passenger, what do you call them, co-passengers, have a lot of cruising, a long cruising background.
Yeah. I know when we were chatting before the podcast, you mentioned one couple. I'm pretty sure they're on the ship. There's people that have been cruising for years. And actually yesterday in Hawaii, or 2 days ago in Hawaii, we picked up somebody that was going to the airport, and he's coming to move on full time in a year because he's got 7 cruises between now and then before he gets on. So yeah, there's a lot of very, very experienced cruisers on board.
Yeah.
And for them, I think it's been I don't know if it's even maybe more of a difficult transition sometimes because they're so used to that lifestyle that, as you mentioned, that most cruisers do. But without exception, I think they've figured out that this is a fun way to do it.
Okay, next question. And this one is, subject to change because you only tried this for 8 months. What's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
Well, both Gian and I think he'll agree with this in his answer, but we both took a pretty strong liking to the Irish whiskeys when we were in Belfast. So really enjoy those.
Bushmills and Jamesons.
Yeah, we really enjoy that for sure. And I really enjoy the Thai food and tacos when we have those. I find them, but I love the soups, and that's a hard question to answer because we get such a wonderful variety in our food.
Yeah, I like it when they throw in a little bit of Mexican food. I like some quesadillas or tacos as well. So
Your drink?
my drink, Irish whiskey, of course.
There you go.
Here's a question, a related question, a food question, but I only typically ask this of what I call like globetrotters, world travelers, which you are now. So I'm going to ask you, on your various port stops, have you had anything that you would consider exotic?
For me, octopus I consider exotic, especially being from
Okay.
Colorado. Definitely would say I would not eat it again. But I can say I tried it, so I'm happy about that.
For me, it was alpaca in Peru. I had
Alpaca meat, yeah. So
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
another guest who mentioned alpaca meat. Yeah.
It doesn't taste anything like chicken. It was really good. I kind of felt guilty because while we were at Machu Picchu, there's llama walking all over, kind of mowing the lawns there. And I'm eating one of their cousins. But,
One of their cousins.
I recently we recently visited Dubai and I had camel meat.
oh wow!
Now, does your cruise take you to the United Arab Emirates,
Yes,
that
we-
part of the world?
We will get by there as well. I mean, the closest we got, of course, it was Morocco as far as camels go. But yes, we will get all through that area as well. So I'll look forward to some camel meat. Or should I
Yeah.
be scared?
No, I wouldn't. It's very beef, very much. I mean, I could have had it and no one told me that I'm having camel and I would have thought I had beef. So
There
Okay.
you go. Sounds like it would be tough.
Good to know.
let's see. What's your most wonderful? Well, let me modify this because I already know what your most wonderful memory is. But the question is, what's your most wonderful or memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing cruise ship or cruise port experience?
Yeah, for me, the Port of Cartagena in Colombia was very impactful. As you leave the ship, you are immediately in a jungle environment full of monkeys and macaws and anteaters and flamingos and parrots and peacocks and so many more animals. They're all free to come and go as they like. And in the 2 days that we were there, we never even left the port, to be honest. And for me, probably also one of my most memorable in the wedding was the ship's horn went off during our first kiss, and that was
Unexpected.
unexpected, and you could just feel that in your soul. So it was a very nice surprise.
So the captain that was part of the captain planned that.
That's correct. That's
He,
correct.
Okay.
he pushed the little button and the horn went off, and
Oh, it was great.
yeah, it was funny. And I think that, again, along the lines of the wedding, we were completely surprised and honored that he chose to take the plunge with us into the pool.
Yes.
He was such a good sport, and uniform and all, he was in the full captain gear.
A
So
lot of our residents joined us as well.
yeah, I obviously already mentioned the embarrassing part about our first dance, but again, we got away with it. I still turn red in the face when I think about it, but it was good fun.
Okay, last question. I know you have a following. I know you're on Instagram. Of course, your family and friends know all about what's been happening with you, and I know some of them are listening. So let me just say at this point, welcome to Gian and Angie's family and friends. We hope you have enjoyed the Cruising Podcast, and we'll come back for future episodes. Gian and Angie, share one thing that my listeners and your friends and friends don't know about Gian and Angie.
Well, mine probably is coming from the quiet mountains of Colorado. I am surprisingly very jumpy with a lot of loud noises. Some of the cities have been pretty crowded and noisy, but I'm getting a lot more used to it. But that came as a very big surprise to me. That experience as we've been traveling.
Wow, very good. Thanks.
Yeah, for me, I think I didn't realize how scared of heights I am, and it's kind of irrational. But I remember we were at the top of the Rock of Gibraltar, and they have one of those kind of glass walks that goes out, and I was literally glued to the wall of that thing as I was shuffling over. That's not something I'm going to do again. Amazing views, but I don't want to look down and see the view. Thank you. I'll just look out.
Great for being so open and sharing. Gian and Angie, it has been great meeting you. I feel like I kind of know you because I've read so many different stories about you. Well, and then once you had agreed to come on, I just couldn't stop reading about you. And thank you so much for coming on the Joy Cruising Podcast and providing the cruising community a different, touching perspective of being at sea. You're going to be at sea for years to come. And so I know that I would like to invite you on if you will come back. So consider yourself having an open invitation. You're going to go to so many wonderful places. When you go to a place that you just got to tell the cruising world about it, email me and let's get you back on the show because I know you're gonna have so much that you're going to see and do over the next couple of years. All the best. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And Paul, we want to invite you. We want to invite you to the Odyssey as well. So we'd like to see you come out here sometime. We'll chat and we'll keep in touch, and I'll keep an eye on the itinerary at villavieresidences.com. As you mentioned, social media, I'm Nomad Afloat on Facebook and Instagram, and let's keep in touch. And if it works out, we'll get you over onto the ships so you can see exactly how we're enjoying our lives.
That is very kind of you.
One fun thing also, Paul, that we didn't mention is that when we bought our rooms on board, we are actually
Here for 15
here for
years.
15 years. So we are actually able to do 4 circumnavigations around the world. So I think you're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
have us, we'll be happy to kind of keep you in the loop as we continue to journey. I'm not sure we'll last the full 15. We might, I told them after at least the first circumnavigation to maybe pick some of our favorite places and stay a few weeks to a month or so in those places and then meet back up with the ship. I think would be a really fun lifestyle. So, but we definitely have 15 years on board.
Well, I've been at this a little while, and I've had a couple of guests have been on 3 times, and one guest has been on 4. So, it sounds like you're willing to come back. So
Yes.
this is not the end. This is just the beginning.
It's been a pleasure to meet you, Paul, and I look forward to our future talks.
All right, congratulations again. As I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Love it, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.